the world, the USA imports from the world in January to October 2024, the figures were around 2,708 USD billion. As far as India's exports to the USA is concerned, it was around 73.24 USD billion. So India's share in USA's total imports during the same period is only about 2.70%. And there's a huge potential, and USA being a traditional destination for Indian exports, there's a lot more that we can do between the two countries. I would like to introduce to our participants Mr. Naveen Pathak, CEO of Entry USA. Am I audible?
Yeah. Ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. We have Mr. Ajay Kumar, CPA and Wealth Planner, and we have Mr. Alan Bersano, warehouse expert, with three speakers who are experts in this area of setting up business, expanding your business in the US. I think we have a lot to hear from all of them. And I will request Mr. Yogesh Gupta, our regional chairman of FIO Eastern Region, to please share his remarks on this session and welcome our speakers.
Thank you, Devdatta. I welcome all the speakers who would be talking about setting up business in USA and how to expand our market there. And as we all know that exports, like all other business, export is also getting competitive, and we have to find ways to expand our market all around the world. USA being one of the big buyers for most of our products, which is exported out of India. We have to find ways of finding new customers, and it could be a very, very welcome move if we can find more details about how to set up a business in USA and get a greater share of market, because this is one way of putting your footstep into the US market. So without wasting much more time, let me pass it on to the main speakers of today's evening.
Thank you very much, sir, for your welcome address. I would now kindly request Mr. Naveen Pathak to speak on the topic for today's discussion. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard Ji. Thank you so much for making Entry USA a part of this webinar. This is probably my 7th or 8th webinar with FIO, and with FIO office out of Chennai, Mr. Unikrishnan, and I have done that with FIO Delhi office, a physical event also. And in fact, I did a buyer-seller meet for FIO in the US. In 2023, there was a last delegation brought in by Dr. Ajay Sahai and Dr. Saktivel. So that was a pretty good one. So FIO, I'm delighted to be engaging in this webinar once again from FIO Western Office. Thank you, Mrs. Nandwani, and thank you, Mr. Gupta, for lovely remarks. Yes, US is a large market. In fact, I am currently in Vegas to attend Consumers and Electronics Show. It is the largest show in the world, and there are 25 Indian companies brought in by ESC, that is Electronics and Computer Software Export Promotion Council. So these are the kind of efforts, of course, required to expand business in the US market. You got to be somehow or the other meet with the clients here. That's a part of it. Just to share with everyone, a small before we start. I think this is very important just to put a canvas right in front of you. What's happening in the US and what is going to happen even more starting 20th of January when President Trump takes over. What's happening is in US, buyers have started to focus on onshoring or nearshoring. Near means Canada or Mexico, on means within the US. And after COVID, it has fast forwarded. I mean, it's like it's light of speed because of the logistics issues. Now companies here, the buyers here, large retail buyers here, or not small buyers, but it has a domino effect. They don't want to rely on logistics where they were taken for hostage. So what they say is means they had let's say a shipment was ordered and it got stranded on the port for months before it could land. So that has catapulted into this theme where they want that if I want to place an order, I want that order to come to us within just a couple of days, 3 days, whenever I want it, I have it. That is the mindset, and that is the reason warehousing has become a major part, and even for today's webinar. And of course, from a larger, see, all of us, whosoever are the exporters here, manufacturers here, all of us are selling our services, selling our products. So end goal is always revenue, more clients, and with that comes the brand name. So what happens is if you want more clients, it is the strategy which you take which helps you gain more revenue. So strategy can be anything. Your strategy can be, let me sell something on e-commerce. Your strategy can be, I want to have a distributor. Your strategy, you know what? In long term, let me have my fulfillment done from US, then from India, even though I'm selling on Amazon FBA, or I want a 3PL warehouse because I want to do fulfillment for many other online platforms. Now, for example, Etsy or Fair.com does not allow Indian companies to sell, but these are hot platforms for selling. So how would you go about it? And you are tied up only with, or you left remain only with your own website or Shopify or Walmart or Amazon. So the goal here is very simple. To educate you, of course, this time belongs to you. Ask any question after the sessions are over, but time belongs to me. Ask any questions. I know some of them or most of you may not have any experience, but think about very logically, if not rationally so much, but logically is what does it take to run my company in the US? So you are free to ask any questions in the webinar as we move along because we have experts. Through this webinar, not only you get educated, that is our job to make sure that you understand what it takes to run a company and to do warehousing. But at the same time, we do that job. So I'm going to share a presentation and go certain slides, and then I'll invite my expert, Mr. Ajay Kumar first to begin, and then we'll later take on to the warehousing. So I'm just doing a screen share. Just bear with me for a couple of seconds. Let's see. There we go. All right. Okay, so it's very simple, creating success across borders. In very short, I mean, I'm not going to spend much of a time. We do it's a one solution stop. This is what we do. Essentially, is business setup, of course, warehousing, and with that comes many other services. We're not going to talk about those. That includes US Customs, L1A work visa, and sales facilitation. Some other webinars will cover those points, but this is just to give you a snapshot of the services that we provide. We are also launching, just to share with you. See, many companies, exporters from India, they take uh, warehousing, not warehousing, showroom area in New York City. If you're not aware, I'm not sure, but just in case. So they take these small areas, 500 square foot, 1,000 square foot, and they display their products there. So what we have done is in next few months, we are opening up a showroom, a kind of a display area for the Indian exporters to display their products for their buyers. And essentially that is not for B2C, that is for B2B. Moving on to the next one, we started 2006 and entry India and entry USA, which is a partner with FIO for this webinar. So it's a subsidiary of Entry India. So the same thing, helping companies expand. Entry India is the reverse part of it. That is a holding company, helping American companies expand business in the US market. But the opportunity was so big that Entry USA was formed out of Entry India. Next one, all because of our activities by or through our network, we got to meet with various stakeholders. That includes Government of India, that includes Government of New Jersey, participating with various delegations. Let's say there is another one coming to India by Department of Commerce, US, to expand into the US market, or sorry, expand in the Indian market. But here we have Indian consulate also to visit the government authorities, just to build those connections for India for this cross-border business. So this is just to give you a snapshot. This is our team, and the team is very large. It's a 71 people team that Mr. Ajay Kumar is spearheading, and out of East Brunswick in New Jersey. Our office is 30 miles, you can say 30 minutes from Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, and 30 minutes from airport. And there are direct flights, just to share with you, there are direct flights from Delhi and Mumbai to New Jersey and New York. So strategically, we are very well positioned on the East Coast, but this is the best state, you can say, of expanding your business. There are many numbers to suggest those. Maybe in some of the webinars, I will propose to the team just to take on to give you a snapshot of the region. For example, if somebody was to come to India, then where should I begin my business from? So in the US, for India, New Jersey comes out to be the best. Okay, this is another. There we'll start. So business setup, we'll focus on company registration. Once again, everyone, hear out very closely, make notes, ask questions. This time belongs to you. Mr. Ajay Kumar, with over 2 decades of experience as a CPA, wealth planner, MBA, and engineering, you cannot find a better person than Mr. Kumar, to guide you, assist you. He is the most renowned, with over 3,000 companies formed. The experience runs vast, and I tell you, there are 12,000 CPAs. Just to give you this background is very, very important. There are 12,000 CPAs in New Jersey alone, and there are just a few of them only that understand the cross border, and Ajay stands on top. So once again, the time belongs to you. Ask questions. Keep in mind, everyone, US is a very transactional country. India is a very strategic country. You build relationships in India. USA is not like that. USA becomes transactional, and it is going to become even more when Mr. Trump takes on to the office on 20th of January. So your time becomes of essence value. And so this time, once again, belongs to you. Keep your questions ready and use chat box to ask your questions. We'll address them at the end of the session. Okay, Ajay ji. Now with that said, the floor is all yours. So let's get started.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you for the kind introduction. Hi, everyone. Please, as Naveen said, write down your questions. As much as we want to cover in next 30 minutes, there is only so much that you can cover in 30 minutes. We'll try our best to to answer the frequently asked questions. I have been doing these seminars for at least 10 years, if not longer. So I know what typically is being asked. I will try to cover all those questions, but if I don't cover any question that you want to ask, just write it in the chat box. I'll try to answer those questions for you. So Naveen already pointed out forming a company in US is a great idea. Not only it gives you the domestic presence, not only it make you local to this country, you can accept US dollars locally, you can have a local bank account, you can have local banking, you can get funding. A lot of funding companies do not want to deal with foreign companies because we don't know if you don't pay the bill, who are we going to chase? We cannot really be chasing people in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. So unless you have a US company, unless you have a domestic presence, a lot of lending institute will not lend you the money. A lot of clients hesitate in paying you only because you're not domestic. And these foreign companies, foreign transactions have a negative connotation around it. A lot of scammers are from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. So whenever you have a foreign company trying to do transactions in US, it's seen differently. So having a local company will really help your business grow to the next level. We see many situations. Here are the three main situations we see why people have business in US, how people have businesses in US. You can have a US business because you are trying to expand to US, where the US office is more of a branch office. In some cases, when people are trying to raise money and their only operations are in India, they will try to create an office in US, which is actually their head office. The US company will acquire the Indian company so the US company can get the funding. Or a lot of times people have the US company only to be able to collect money, only to be able to get the loans. Let's say search engine optimization company, SEO type of companies, where everything is done in India, or website designing, everything is done in India. They create a US subsidiary, US company, only to be able to accept money and to advertise to promote their business. So there could be a lot of reasons why you have this US company, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Naveen, we'll move on to the next slide, please. So we covered a lot of these benefits. I'll sort of go fast, rush through it. I want to spend more time on the actual starting of the business. You know the benefits. Of course, the visibility is there. It builds trust between the customer and the company. You can get investment. You can get L1 visa. We have a separate seminar that Mr. Pathak can arrange for you, where we talk about how do you come legally in this country through your own company, either on H1 or L1 or EB1, and run the operations from US for your business. And of course, you have new technology, a lot of benefits. But benefit aside, let's get to the point. How do you get it done? So when we talk about the businesses in US, there are two types of structure that are allowed. We call it LLC, limited liability company, or a corporation, C corp. In total, the country allows 5 types of structure, right from proprietorship, partnership, LLC, S corp, and C corp. Out of these 5 structures, only 2 types of structures are allowed when we talk about foreign ownership. The question that we are typically asked over here, do I have to have a local partner to start the business in US? No, you don't need, it's not mandatory. If you have a local partner, that's good. Having a local partner actually helps you in many cases because the local partner become responsible party. Let's say if you have a company where the 100% ownership belongs to a foreigner, somebody in India, it's very hard for the system to chase that person. So if you have a local partner, we know this person, this local partner, has a social security number. So it becomes easier to verify certain things, easier to open the bank account, easier to get the loan. But is it mandatory to have the local partner? No, it's not mandatory to have the local partner. You can have 100% foreign owned company, a foreign owned subsidiary of your company. The other question that we are asked, who should own the company? Should I own the company myself, or should we have my Indian company own the US company? So in that case, it depends on situation. What are you trying to achieve here? Are you trying to do it for L1 visa, in which case we prefer the company to company ownership or common ownership, or are you trying to promote the business? Is it for the advertising, promotion, making more money? In that case, we prefer the ownership of the Indian company is replicated as the ownership of the US company. Let's say if the Indian company is owned by 3 people, with the same percentage ownership, we try to create the. So the short answer is the ownership depends on what you're trying to achieve. But going back to the slide, we have two types of main structure that we have LLC and C Corp. LLC is typically used when we are not expecting any profit. And you wonder, why would I start a company, AJ, if we are not expecting any profit? So there are certain types of businesses where you don't really have any paper profit to say, any legal profit. Say, for example, real estate investment. When you invest into real estate, if you're trying to buy a property, a strip mall, or a car dealership in this country, in that case, we prefer LLC for you only because after taking the mortgage interest, property tax, depreciation, your legal paper profit is not there. It's always typically LLC will show losses as opposed to profit. When you're thinking about immigration, when you're thinking about I'm in there for the long run, that's when we try a C corporation. When you have a situation when the Indian company is owned by the US company, we'll go with a C corporation. On the other hand, when you think, I'm not sure where the business is going to go, I'm just trying to check it out. If it works out, then great. If it does not work out, I'll close the business. Quote unquote flirting is LLC, meaning LLC is a minimal structure compared to C Corp. C Corp has more formalities, more compliance, better structure, better legal protection than the LLC. As the name says, liability protection is limited in LLC. Moving on to the next slide, please. So here we talked about the benefits and the downside of the LLC. So for a smaller business, LLC is preferred. For the larger business, C Corp is preferred. The question that we are typically asked: what's the tax rate? What's the difference between the tax liability when we have an LLC and C Corp? Especially if it depends on your situation actually. If you have a situation where you have domestic partner, then LLC still may make sense in your case because LLC becomes a flow-through entity for domestic owners. But let's take an example. If 100% of the company is owned by foreigner, it could be foreign entity, meaning your Indian company, or you yourself, a foreigner. And foreigner in this example is defined as somebody who does not have a social security number. If the 100% of the company is owned by a foreign person or foreign entity, in that case, your tax liability is going to be exactly same for LLC and or C corporation. So there is no bottom line tax advantage for having this versus that. Moving on, please. So as we talked about LLC, here are certain benefits, downside of a C corporation. Most banks prefer lending money to C corporation. Most venture capital would like to invest into C corporation. It's more formal, more compliant structure. You must be doing things right in the C corporation. And as C corporation has better, higher liability protection than limited protection that we have in LLC, most investor will prefer C corp because they don't want to be responsible for you making a mistake. When I'm investing money into your business, I don't want to be responsible for you made this mistake. Now I'm responsible for it. So most investors, most banks, more lending institutes will prefer C corporation. So as we said, it's easier for a C corporation to obtain the bank financing as opposed to LLC. So depending on your situation, depending on what you're trying to achieve, we'll be happy to have a quick call with you to understand what's the long-term plan and then help you decide if LLC makes sense or C Corp. The good thing is there are only two options, either LLC or C Corp. There are not too many options. So even though the US country allows 5 options, but when it comes to a foreign person, there are only 2 options. Moving on, please. Now let's talk about how does it work when we say let's form a company. What are we forming? What registrations are needed? And what are the steps in this registration? And let's talk about how much does it cost? How long does it take? So far we have been talking about it's a good idea to form the company in US. Then we talk about what are the various options. We say LLC and C Corp. Then we talk about the benefit, pros and cons of each option. Now let's talk about the actual registration part. How does the the registration works? At a high level, there are three steps, three things that has to happen in order for you to say, I have my business registered in US. Each step will have sub steps to it, but at a high level, there are three registrations that you need to have your business registered in US. The very first step is state incorporation. So you decide, let's say, for example, New Jersey, you're opening a company, you're starting a business in New Jersey. So we'll see, first step, is this name that you're trying to register, is this name available in this state? Does anybody else has that name? And then assuming the name is unique, name is available. In a lot of cases, the name is not unique, you can always say, you can always add a suffix, meaning Microsoft is already registered, but if you say Microsoft managed from India.inc, that's available. Meaning you can always add a word here, a word there to make your name a unique name. But the first step in this process is state incorporation. The question we are typically asked here, which state should I register the business? Do I register the business in Wyoming, Delaware, New York? So the country, US, has 50 states, 50. All these states run their affair based on the money that they collect from the taxpayer, people like me and you, the businesses, the small businesses. So each state is unique in its own way, in the sense that the state will try to collect money from the taxpayer. A lot of states will promote, we don't have income tax. Say Florida does not have income tax, but they're not saying what income tax. Florida does not have personal income tax. They still have business taxes. Delaware talks about we are the most corporate friendly. They don't talk about that the franchise tax could be as much as $199,000. Only 5 states in this whole country have franchise tax. The other 45 states don't. New Jersey does not have franchise tax. The franchise tax in Delaware could be as much as $200,000, $199,000. So the point I'm trying to make, you don't decide the state based on which state is good or bad. You decide the state based on the business you have, which state you will be running the business from. The other thing you want to consider, in the state you want to register the business, you will need a local address. Do you have a local address? Let's say hypothetically you have a local US partner and the partner lives in New York. Now you register the business in Delaware. At the end of the year, since one of the partner lives in New York, you have nexus with New York. Business is registered in Delaware. The partner is managing the business from New York. So now at the end of the year, you have to file taxes in Delaware and in New York. Meaning, if you're, let's say you have a port, all your stuff comes to New Jersey port, and then you decided to start the business in Wyoming. At the end of the year, since you have nexus with New Jersey, you have to file taxes in Wyoming and New Jersey. So instead of just randomly choosing any state, you try to choose the state where you're going to have nexus, where you're going to have business, we are going to have connection. So you don't have to file the taxes in multiple states. So that's the first part of the business incorporation, state registration. Then the second registration is called federal. When I say federal, assume central government. Let's say in India you have different states, Rajasthan, UP, Maharashtra, and then you have India government. So federal means Indian government. State means the 50 states that we are talking about. So federal government is central government. So you do the registration with the local government, local state, then you do the registration with the central government, and you get something called EIN number, employer identification number. This is the number you will need to get the bank account opened. This is sort of a unique number, a social security number for your business, and we refer it as a EIN number. That's the second step in this registration. Then the third step is the tax and labor registration. What type of taxes you will be filing? Are you going to be hiring people? If so, when? Are you exposed to sales tax? And sales tax is sort of a synonym to VAT in your case. So the third step is tax and labor registration that's also done with the local government. At a high level, there are 3 steps in this process: state registration, federal registration, and tax and labor registration. That goes together. So when we say Entry India, Entry USA can help you register the business, they will be doing everything for you as a single package uh, to make sure that you don't really have this is done, this is not done. We had this situation earlier. So now we try to do everything together as a package for you. Moving on. One step back, please, Naveen. Yes. Frequently, but yes. So here are some of the frequently asked questions that we have that we go through typically. I'll try to cover them, and then I will take quickly the questions that you have on the text. So if you have any question, please feel free to put it on the text, and I'll be happy to try to cover it quickly. But let me go through the frequently asked question first, and then we'll go through the text, please. Is there a minimum investment required to open a company in the US? No. It depending on your business. Let's say if you want to hire people in US, the salaries are going to be high. Depending on your business, you may want to have 3 months working capital, 6 months working capital. But the US government does not have any condition, any minimum investment that you have to open a company in US. Are there any US regulatory requirement for infusing capital into the company? It depends on the type of company, LLC or C Corp. So depending on the structure, you may have certain contingencies, certain conditions, but the US government as such does not require anything to infuse the capital. It's your decision. So in most cases, the board decides, let's say, take an example quickly. If you have a C corporation that's owned by 2 people, 50% by person A, 50% by person B. If person A is bringing $50,000 as a capital, person B must bring in $50,000 as well. This is not the US government, this is the requirement for the C corporation. If person B is not bringing the same amount of money, we cannot consider person A's infusion as capital. Then we'll have to show person A's infusion as loan from person A, because either everybody brings in the capital or nobody brings in the capital. So there are certain requirements that we have based on the LLC or C corporation, but other than that, there is no US regulatory requirement for capital infusion. Delaware is most talked about state when it comes to business opening. Actually, Delaware is the second most talked about. Wyoming is number 1 now. So the Delaware provides higher legal protection. Delaware is very expensive to do business in. So when you have a public company, when you have a publicly listed company, New York Stock Exchange type of company, you always try to go with Delaware because Delaware provides higher legal protection as opposed to many other states. And you don't care how much money it costs because it's not your money, it's public money anyway. Meaning when the management is deciding as opposed to the owners, when the management is deciding which state to go with, that's when they will try to go with Delaware. Meaning when we have a publicly listed company or a $1 billion company trying to come to US, in that case Delaware becomes a preferred state. As opposed to when you have your own company, you want to find a cost efficient state as opposed to I don't care how much money it costs, I don't want to be sued type of state. If I open a company in New York but use a warehouse in New Jersey, would I be taxed in both the states? The answer is yes, but I want to clarify here it's not double taxation. Let's say if you open a company in New York and you are using warehouse in New Jersey. So you have Nexus in New Jersey, but you have a company in New York. And you, let's say, take a quick example. You made $100. We'll ask you how much of this $100 is made in New Jersey and how much of this $100 is made in New York. You said New York is just a business startup. I did not do any transaction in New York. You still have to file taxes in New York. You have to pay minimum taxes in New York, even if you have no transaction, and you will pay taxes in New Jersey for $100. So it's not that you are paying taxes in New York and New Jersey on that $100. It's not double taxation as such, but you do have to file taxes in each state, and you may have to some minimum tax that you have to pay in each state. Would opening the company in a state with no sales tax and no corporate income tax will be better? There is no such thing. There is no such thing. A lot of people will try to find Florida because there is no income tax, but make sure you check Are they talking about no corporate income tax, no business tax, or they are just saying no tax? No tax a lot of time is defined as no personal income tax in this country. But please understand, every single state is out there. They run their affair. They run the state based on the amount of money they collect from these businesses. So if there is no sales tax, they have a different name to it. A lot of state call it franchise tax. A lot of state call it excise tax. A lot of state call it annual filing. So just don't go with one term. Make sure you understand that what other compliance we have in this state. Okay, the sales tax is not there. Is there another tax? Is there any other compliance that this state has? Make sure you find that out. When is statutory, auditory, and tax audit required in US? Typically, the audits are not required in US unless you have large bank funding or unless you are trying to go public. Meaning, for a small company, typically the tax audits are not required. Statutory audits are not required. A lot of time when you're trying to get a large loan, let's say 50 crore rupees or $5 million plus of loan, sometimes the lending institute will say you have to provide us the audited statement. Doing an audit is expensive over here. That's why a lot of times small businesses are not required to have financial audits done every year. Are there any withholding tax or TDS requirement for making any payment from a US company to a local person or an entity? Well, no. So for a local person, you don't need to have a TDS requirement. But if you are making payments to a foreign person, then you have to withhold certain taxes. And we call it tax withholding at source. So the TDS requirement are applicable when you are making payments from a domestic company. For us, domestic means US based company to a foreign person. In that case, we have the TDS requirement. But when you are making payments to a US person, somebody with a social security number, unless that person is your employee, if the person is just a contractor, you don't need to have any TDS. If I want to increase my capital investment in my US company at a later date, how do I? It's not complicated. You can increase the capital investment in your company. There are certain rules around it, depending on the type of company, depending on how many owners you have. As the money has to come from the owner only. The money has to come in proportion to each person's ownership directly into the company. Otherwise, we'll take it as a loan, not the capital investment. And then it has to be memorialized. It has to be properly published that this money that we received is more of a capital investment, not a loan. But it's not complicated. You can do the capital investment at any point of time in your company. When do I have to charge sales tax and how do I know the percentage of the sales? Sales tax in this country is a function of the state government. There are 50 states, 50. Each state has a different sales tax rate to it. Many state has different sales tax depending on where you are in that state. So let's say New Jersey, the regular sales tax is 6.625, but there are certain areas where the sales tax is cut in half. So instead of 6.625, you have 3.3125 in those areas within New Jersey. Typically, sales tax is charged on the retail sale. Typically, sales tax is not charged on service. But depending on your business, depending on where business is located, depending on what you are selling, depending on who you are selling, we can help you understand if sales tax is applicable and if so, how much. But please understand, there are more than 50 different sales tax rates depending on which state you are, depending on what you're selling, depending on where you're selling from, depending on what you're selling to. You may have a different sales tax rate. So it's not as easy that use 5%, use 10%. Moving on, can I invest my profits in the US? If yes, then what are my options? You can invest your profit in US, absolutely. And you have all the options. You can invest your profit into the market. You can invest your profit into another company. You can invest profit into your own company. You can create a fixed deposit. You can buy stocks, bonds. I mean, options. So options are limitless, whatever you want to do. I mean, depending on how much time we have, do you want me to go through some questions, please?
No, I guess let's get started. Let's get started with Alan and then take these questions at the end.
Sure,
You know,
absolutely.
okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ajay ji. That's wonderful. I'm pretty sure everybody would have learned a lot of things and a lot of missed. I mean, as you cannot see what will happen if I open up a company, what are the regulations, tax laws. So, if not all, but much of the queries will be addressed through your presentation. But now, moving on to the next presenter here, we have Alan Barsano, our partner, running a warehouse in Edison. And, well, one part I want to bring, well, this warehouse is again 30 minutes drive from the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, and 30 minutes drive from EWR, that is Newark Airport in New Jersey, with direct flights to India once again. Guys, one thing I want to bring to your attention is that warehousing in the US does not mean storage. It means, it is co-joined with order fulfillment, what we call it as a pick, pack, ship. So it is important to keep in mind, as 100% of my interactions, 100% of interactions I've ever had with companies from India who are getting started with warehousing is like, if I have a warehouse, then who will pick, pack, and ship my product? But this is not how it is. In the US, pick, pack, and ship is a part of warehousing. So what I'll do is, now I'm going to stop the screen share because there is no presentation. You are going to hear from the horse's mouth. And Alan, are you there? Hello, Alan. I know
So
you are there.
I
I cannot
think
hear you.
he hasn't joined the webinar yet, has he?
Yes, he sent a message. Just give me 1 second, guys. This is 9 in the morning here, and 9 is when the warehousing opens up. It starts to function. It should be there. Okay. Well, he's sent a message requesting me a couple of more minutes.
I can start the questions if you want. I mean, while we're
Yeah,
waiting
yeah.
for.
So that's what I was about to say. Let's get into the questions, and then we'll take on when Alan joins in.
Sounds
So,
good.
all right. So, questions, okay.
I'm going to go up. Naveen, do you want to read these questions? Do you want me to read these questions, please?
What does it? Yeah, you can read them too. That's fine.
So I'm going with Sudhamani, Sunil. Request you to kindly walk us through with an example. I want to promote my leather handbag business. How do I start? What are the legalities? What are the limitations? So Sudhamani is asking that she wants to promote a leather handbag business in US. So the very first step, Sudhamani, you should get a business started. We can have a conversation depending on how big the business you have in US, in India, depending on other, if you want to have L1 or any other immigration requirement, we can help you decide if it's going to be LLC or C Corp. Once the business is started in US, get a bank account, get a line against this business, because a lot of times you will need availability of fund to make sure you can supply. Depend if you either you can supply directly to Amazon and other shops, or you can uh, try to get a warehouse over here. In your case, since it's leather handbag, you may need a proper environment for the warehouse, meaning a heated warehouse or cooled warehouse, whatever you need. But the very first step is to start the business in the US, get the bank account, get the website, get some orders, and start supplying from US as opposed to coming across as somebody who is supplying from India. Moving on, from India, we have already an LLC formed in US. Want to know how it will help to open a warehouse in US, how it helps financially. Well, opening a warehouse in US is a commitment by itself. As Naveen was alluding, warehouse is not just a storage in here. Warehouse function in multiple ways. In our next presentation, Alan will guide you more about the things that the warehouse does, including shipping, including storage, including there are a lot of things the warehouse, a lot of services the warehouse provides. So please stay tuned. In the next section, we'll be talking about a warehouse only. Moving on, how do we find and verify American distributors? How does American distributor work? Is it credit based? Is it wholesale based? What's the return? So the question here essentially is, how does the American distributor work? But please understand, American distributors are people like me and you who came here 20 years ago, 30 years ago, who were in India earlier. So there is no standard rule around it. There is no such thing that all American distributor works on credit or all American distributor wants prepaid distribution. It depends on what you're selling, what credit history you have, what credibility you have, how big of your business is in India, how long you have in US. A lot of time people want prepaid. They don't want to take risk with a new company, but as you grow with them, once you have been supplying to them for some time, they'll be happy to give you credit terms, but there is nothing standard about it. Should there be, moving on, Sudhamani is asking, should there be a minimum profit or income to pay taxes? Yes, income, when we say taxes in US, tax is a function of income. Higher the income, higher the taxes. Lower the income, lower the taxes. So should there be a minimum profit or income? That depends on your business. A lot of times people want to show some income in US so they can grow the business. Meaning, if you keep showing losses in US company, no bank will entertain you. No bank, no lending institute will give you the money. But the tax liability increases as you show larger profit because tax is a function of income. But is there a minimum requirement? There is no such requirement as minimum requirement. So the next link is kindly send the meeting presentation. Manvi and Shikha will be sending you the meeting presentation. We'll send you the link in the text message, or you can go to our website and download the presentation. Moving on, Sudhamani is asking again, can a local residence address be registered as a business address? Yes, it doesn't have to be commercial address. A residence address can also be used as a business address. Next one. Kindly send the meeting presentation is requested again. Please send the meeting presentation, Shikha, Manvi, whenever you get a chance. The next question, do we have to pay state and federal tax or only state tax? You have to pay state tax and federal tax. And as a rule of thumb, the state tax is 1/4 of federal tax. There are 50 states, 50 different states. Each state, they have their own income tax rules, regulations. Federal tax rate is flat for foreign companies, which is 21% right now. State tax rate can vary from 4% to 9%, depending on which state you are. So when we see the total income tax, the rule of thumb is 25% to 30%. Again, this is based on income only. Higher the income, higher the tax. If you're showing $100 of income, you are showing $25 of taxes. If you are showing $10,000 of income, you are showing $2,500 of taxes. So we're talking about the presentation. Moving on, can I expect your services for an LLC registered in Wyoming? Yes. Entry USA can help you open the company or provide services for any company in all the 50 states, including Wyoming, Delaware, and all other states. The next question, Rakesh ji is asking, does C Corp needs 2%? No, there is no such requirement. You can have one owner in the C corporation. A lot of time we have situations where the Indian company is the owner of the US company, especially for the L1 cases. In that case, you have one owner, but there is no such requirement that you have to have two persons in US. Akash is saying he missed 15 minutes of webinar. Can you send details on his email ID? Yes, Akash will be sending the complete presentation so you can look at it. What's the minimum tax? Moving on, Rakesh is asking what's the minimum tax if you have a stock warehouse in New Jersey and office in New York. So it depends. The tax does not depend on the warehouse. Tax depends on the income. Higher the income, higher the taxes. As I took an example earlier, if your income is $100, we'll ask you how much of this income came from New Jersey, how much of this income came from New York. Central government tax is fixed, 21%, and the state tax varies from 4% to 9%. Can we convert from LLC to C Corp? Yes, the conversion is also allowed from one type of structure to another type of structure. Moving on, JSG is asking, if we open a company in US, how do we get an import license from USA government? Is the process tedious? Well, it's all relative when it comes to tedious. Depending on what type of import license you are trying to get, meaning what exactly you are trying to import, That depends on how tedious the process is. But can you get the license? I'm sure you can. Moving on, what is the difference between branch office and subsidiary? What is better for company which is keen to export more and more to the US and also have their product warehouse in US? So branch office is just opening another branch over there, and subsidiary means the US company is 100% owned by the Indian company, the wholly owned subsidiary, we call it. So it doesn't really change anything. The business model, you also want to look at the immigration requirement around it. For the branch office or the subsidiary, there has to be at least majority, 51% common ownership in order to qualify for the L1 visa. But from a business perspective, it doesn't matter. Meaning, does it help you create more business by having a branch versus subsidiary? That's not how it works. Mukesh ji is asking, do I need to have a US entity to actually use the warehousing facility of pack and ship? Mukesh ji, stay tuned. Our next section is only on warehousing. You will have a lot of good information on warehousing, and we'll be happy to answer all your questions related to warehousing. Reverse warehousing for stocks in US. Again, please stay tuned. We have Alan, our expert on warehousing. He'll be happy to talk about warehousing. Moving on, where we should open the company if we want to do business in the maximum state through B2B and B2C. So the question Shubhamji is asking, which state should I open my company if I want to cover most of the state? There is no such thing. You can open a company in any state and you are allowed to do business in all the 50 states. So there is no such state that can claim if you open the business in my state, you will be allowed to do business in these 10 states and not those 20 states. So you can look at the business model, look at where you will have nexus and choose the state accordingly. Parasji is asking, what is the rent of showroom in New York? Our warehouse expert, Navinji, will be happy to talk about the rent and the showroom and the warehousing in the next section.
Ajay, can we, Alan has joined. Can we take on Alan
Sure,
now and then move
absolutely,
on?
absolutely,
Okay, wonderful.
absolutely.
Thank you. So we'll take
Of course.
upon these questions once Alan is done with his presentation. Okay, Alan, I can see you there. Alan, I just saw you.
He has joined the session, and I have made him the co-host also, so that he can share his
Yeah.
presentation. Yeah.
Hi, Alan, I cannot hear you and I cannot see you. You probably be able to hear me.
Yes, sir. He has been admitted to the meeting once again.
Once again. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Alan. Okay, Ajay. So let's let's move on. Just to
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that. Yes. So,
let me answer this Paras Jen's question. What is the rent of showroom in New York and what is the location in New York?
sure, please.
Actually,
Go
this
ahead.
is very good question, and this for everyone here. In New York, there is a building, actually a couple of them. One is 230 Fifth Avenue. If you go on Google, you type in 230 Fifth Avenue, New York. You will see a building. There is no building name. You will see a rooftop restaurant that's on the top of the building, but they don't name the building. This building will look like a hotel to you from outside. Inside, just like as you go into a hotel, you see these corridors where you left and the right, there are rooms, right? You stay in those rooms. But in this showroom, those rooms are made out of glass and you can rent space out. So what is the cost of it? $6 per square foot in a month. Roughly around that, you should take it into your budgeting part and add 10% more contingency to it. So let's say you take 1,000 square foot area, you're going to pay $6,000 and plus utilities. And and there is another building by 267 uh, Fifth Avenue. That's another building. We can talk. You can send us a message. Manvi, please share the link uh, to our form, and you fill the form, and then we can get on a call with you and address that. Okay, now I can see Alan. Alan is there. Hi, Alan.
How we doing, Naveen?
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so guys, Alan has joined. Now, Alan, you get started right away. Been waiting for you.
Okay, great. Great. Well, listen, everyone, it's nice to meet you. I want to thank you for your time. And I was listening to AJ's presentation, as I've done, I guess, many times in the last few years at this point. And every time I listen to the presentation, AJ has something new to teach myself as well. So if you think you're just learning something in India, you could rest assured that even here, as a domestic person in the US, I'm learning from AJ as well. Every time he presents some new facet or some new element, a little detail that he's giving, I could tell you that he's truly an expert on his in his field. So when it comes to incorporating in the US, he'll definitely steer you in the right direction and probably save you a lot of time and effort in the process. Because, like I said, someone here who lives here locally, who knows the local market, every time I listen on to one of these phone calls, I pick up a few new tidbits of information. So he's really great. That being said, so Naveen and I have been working together for several years at this point, helping Indian companies that want to come into the United States but need a simpler, easier way to come into the United States to invest and get your business started. In the traditional business model in the United States, you would open up a showroom, you would open up a warehouse, you would have all the facilities to get started. However, that's extremely costly of a process. Not to mention that it'll be a very big learning curve along the way, and in many cases can bankrupt the company before they even started. What we do here at 3PL Business is we help companies grow, but without all the costs that are typically associated with obtaining a warehouse. Has been said a few times by AJ and Naveen, opening a warehouse in the United States is not a simple process. It's pretty complicated in the sense that you have to first of all source, find the local place, fire people along the way, and have an environment that allows you to operate, including warehouse management systems and a bunch of other things that are required to run a properly functioning facility in the United States. That's where we come in. So essentially, we take your dreams of having a large company in the United States and we make it very possible by your being able to invest in smaller amounts without the requirements of maintaining a heavy warehouse structure. Under this roof, you'll find 20 other companies that operate underneath our umbrella company, of warehousing. We figured out everything that could be done right, everything could be done wrong. We've already ironed out all the kinks involved in maintaining a proper functioning warehouse. And in many respects, we do it better than the best out there. Naveen can testify to it. And I'm sure whoever else that may be on this call that's been to the facility before can testify to that as well. You're more than welcome to visit the facility at any point in time. As Naveen mentioned earlier, we're located in Edison, which is a huge local market, a very easy market to get to, easy for travel when you're coming from India because you would come to the New Jersey or New York airports, and so we're easy to get to. As it relates to your products, so we're agnostic to what you sell and to where you sell. What do I mean when I say that? As a specialized 3PL facility, we can handle all kinds of products. We can also handle all kinds of business models. Your business model might be that you're a B2B company, that you're selling to other businesses in the United States, or your model may be that you're a B2C company, or you're looking to be a B2C company where you sell online, whether it be Amazon, Shopify, Walmart, Wayfair, Overstock, many other markets in the United States. We started ourselves as an online B2C company, and we struggled with fulfilling orders once we grew to over 1,000 SKUs. In the United States, that's very difficult. I think that's difficult anywhere you go to maintain such a SKU base of products. We maintain at this point for our various clients maybe 4,000 or 5,000 different SKUs in stock at any given point in time. If anyone here, has a complex arrangement of products, you could truly appreciate what that means to maintain over 5,000 different SKUs. So, like I said, for you to decide what way you're going to market here, whether you're going B2B or whether you're going to B2C. We can handle it both. That being said, there's one subtle difference in the United States as it relates to products, and that's presentation. I'm not sure in India how important it is, but I can tell you in the United States, presentation of the product will drive the price of your product. So if you invest a little bit in presentation, you will get out a lot in sales numbers for that product. So your packaging, the materials you're using, all that plays very much into the American market, and Americans will pay a premium if they perceive the product as a higher value product. You put 2 towels in front of an American, they will notice the difference between these 2 towels. They will look at the presentation, the packaging, and they will literally pay more if they believe, if you've been able to sell to them, that your product is better. That being said, we have a very complex model for fulfillment. And when I say complex, it's simple for you, it's complex what we do. We're able to fulfill orders as late as 2 p.m. for a given day. So if you sell online in America, you must fulfill orders within 1 business day today. There's no such thing as you take an order on Monday and maybe fulfill it Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. You cannot do that here. It's not acceptable. The American consumer, we all know, is they want everything now. Everything is now. So if you take an order on a Monday, you must provide them tracking by Tuesday. If you don't provide them tracking by Tuesday, they're already nervous and they're wondering where their package is. That's the American customer, and that's what you're catering to. In most instances, it's hard to deal with, right? How do you get a package out? Someone ordered 1 product, how do you get it out within 1 day? Well, that's okay because we've already figured that out for you. We have a very impressive picking mechanism of how we pick orders and how we fulfill orders, which I'm definitely going to show you if Naveen says it's okay, and be glad to help you out with that.
Alan, a quick thing before you show the real, functioning of order fulfillment. Can you just say something on pricing? How the pricing works when you do warehousing and order fulfillment from our facility or from anywhere in the U.S.?
Sure. So, as has been mentioned before, in the traditional model that you would imagine, someone just has a warehouse, but that's not a fulfillment center. In the U.S., everything's integrated. So we do warehousing and fulfillment of orders in the same place at the same time. So your products will be stored here, they'll be shipped from here directly to the customer. The way the model works is you pay for storage, which is basically essentially rent. Let's say your products are going to take 1,000 square feet, or let's just say 30 pallets worth of space. We charge you on a per pallet basis, or we charge you on a per location basis if you're doing B2C. So that's how the rent model is, right? We call it storage in the United States. You might call it rent, but your rent is actually a variable cost here. Whereas in the traditional model, your rent in a traditional warehouse is a fixed cost, and you must do a certain amount of sales, to fit over that barrier of the fixed cost. Here, it's a variable cost, which is great because it's variable to how much product you actually have. Your business may fluctuate up and down. So at one point of the year, you have 10 pallets. The next point of the year, you may have 80 pallets. Well, in the traditional model, you need to maintain a warehouse that can hold 100 pallets for you to have that, 80 pallet capacity. In our model, you can fluctuate your business flow and it can ebb up and down. So you could have 10 pallets at one part of the year, or you could have 100 pallets at the other part of the year, and you're only going to be charged for the pallets that you're storing at that point in time. We charge you 2 fees as it relates to the fulfillment of those products. We charge you an order fee that says, hey, let me get this order onto the floor. I'm picking, in this case, a bottle of shampoo. Let me get to that order to the floor. And then we charge you on a per piece fee. So how much am I charging you? It's for an order and for a piece. Now, if you're fulfilling a case, it'll be an order and a case fee. So if you're fulfilling an order for, for 100 cases going to XYZ retailer, it'll be an order fee and a per case fee. Or if you're shipping to a consumer, it'll be an order fee and a per piece fee. So how many pieces am I picking of this individual product? That's the model for how we charge. How much we charge will be a little bit dependent on your product. What do I mean when I say that? You may have a product that's as small as a pair of glasses, which may or may not show on the screen as I'm talking. You may have something as small as a pair of glasses, or you may have something as large as an air conditioner. Obviously, these are two very, very vastly different products, and the cost per piece will fluctuate on those types of products. But that is the basic model, a per order cost and then a per piece cost or per carton cost if you're in the wholesale business. Naveen, does that answer the question properly?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Now let's show the facility in action, and that will give
Okay,
you
so
a
give me-
very good idea of
Give me-
what it takes to fulfill an order.
Sure. Give me a moment. While we're on the phone, I'm just going to switch.
So everyone, this facility is very unique in its way because it is fully technology enabled. Means from picking up the product that you have till the time it gets packaged and ready to be shipped, there is immense technology that is functioning only for purpose that there is no mistake made. Just to add to it, on average, there are 2%, the error rate in fulfilling an order is around 2%. And in our case, it is less than 0.1%. So you will see, how a picker gets to that product that you are selling on any of your B2C platforms. And from that angle till labeling and packaging and labeling, and then shipping it out. So once again, since Alan is figuring it out. So, from the pricing perspective, if you have 10 pallets today and you have 5 pallets next month, you will be charged for 10 pallets for this month and 5 pallets for next month. That's why there is no fixed cost. It's a variable cost. Okay, Alan. Alan can't hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Yes,
You hear me now?
we can hear you now.
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry for that delay, everyone.
No problem.
So now I'm going to walk onto the warehouse floor and show you how orders are picked. This is our fulfillment center. You'll notice that we have over here, I'm going to show you is the B2C picking area. It's also B2B for certain types of businesses. Okay. And you're going to see over here, we're going to start picking orders. Okay. I'm literally getting into the office. Maybe I got into the office 5-10 minutes ago, actually, while we're here. So you'll notice over here that when we pick orders, we don't walk down aisles. We actually have the merchandise coming to the people. This is a very advanced picking mechanism, okay, that we call basically a semi-automated picking. And so you see the merchandise is actually coming to the picker. She's scanning the merchandise, and as she's picking, she's actually placing the picking sheet for the products. You'll notice that we'll just call this 1, 2, and 3. She's actually picking from, we'll call it bin 1. It's actually a little bit more complicated than the way I'm simplifying it, but she's picking from bin 1. When she picks it on her screen over here, it's telling her where to pick the merchandise. Notice she's picking without any paper. Everything here is digitized. Everything is automated. Okay. And so she'll scan the products. When she scans the products, that way the system is confirming that she picked the right item. Okay. If she picks the right item, that will restart again. As you notice, bin number 1 started moving again. This is without her actually determining where it's supposed to pick from. The system is automatically moving for her. You'll notice she's moving to number 2 over here. Number 2 was already in a stationary position, if you noticed. The reason it was stationary is because it already hit the location that it needed to get to. So she goes and she scans a product. After she scans a product, confirms that she picked the right product here. There's a barcode on the product. Not all products that we have here have a barcode, but this happens to have a barcode. Once she scans a barcode, the label automatically prints out. So the chances of us making an error are extremely low. We verify every pick. She's picking from number 3 now, but notice number 2 was spinning. Number 2 is now done. She scans from number 3. Number 3 already starts moving again. So you could see she stays in a captive area, literally within a 10-foot span of area that she stays in. She picks orders, the whole morning. She just keeps on picking orders, and that's the process. She picked from number 1. Number 1 moved again. Notice number 2 and 3 are both stationary. That means she has picks waiting for her at bins number 2 and 3. She can't go faster than the system. It's not physically possible. She's going to scan this item. As soon as she scans, she presses enter. The label prints out. It's as simple as that. It's like a ballet that just keeps on going all day long. Number 2 is moving. She already has a pick waiting for her on this bin, number 3. Okay. She sees it on her screen. It tells her where to pick from. And so now the system told her to pick a certain amount of pieces. She picked, I think, 3 pieces for this order. She scanned it. As soon as she presses enter, the system move again. If she picked, by the way, the wrong product, that would not have started to spin. It would not move forward, and she'd be stuck in a position if she picked the wrong product. Again, that's to show you the accuracy of how we pick an order. When we pick an order, we also record the box that is supposed to go in. Now, someone might say, well, what do you mean you record the box? Well, when this product came in originally, we took the length, width, and height, as well as the weight of this product. We know what are the dimensions of this product. Every square inch or centimeter we know of this product. So we also know that we have 70 different carton sizes within our facility, 70. Why is that important? Because in America, you're built for weight, but you're also built for the actual. So if the dimensions are very large, they might, charge you based on the dimensions. So we want to minimize those charges for you, and we stock 70 different carton sizes. So we don't leave it up to chance. We don't leave it up to someone who's packing an order to determine, what box it should go into. So essentially, after it leaves this area, okay, it goes to the packer area. She already knows what box to put it into. She does not determine the box. The system determines. And the reason he shifted it to the side is because it was placed in the wrong carton. Our system knows the weight of the cartons, just so you understand the level of detail. We know the weight of the cartons. This was picked in the wrong carton because I could see it right over here, the carton type. So it was picked in the wrong carton, and hence our system will not ship it. This will now go to the manager, who will then supervise it, see what went wrong with this pick, and what we could do to improve the picking in the future on this product. So this will not happen again. So this is a constant process that we keep on going through as we ship packages all day long. So again, automated taper. He doesn't actually tape it. It's taped professionally every single time. No person can tape it this well. As you can see, it looks beautiful. Okay, here's a shipping label. We ship with the U.S. Postal Service, UPS, and Federal Express every single day. We have daily pickups from all the various different carriers. We ship in boxes, we ship in bags. It really just depends on your product and what your need is. As I mentioned, we stock over 70 different boxes within this facility. Now I'm going to give you an example. I mentioned something about if we have the wrong weight of a product in there. So for instance, let's just say they ordered this product that he's about to ship. Okay, but by mistake, I put the wrong product, and I have 2 products now on the shipping lane. He's going to try to ship the package. The system did not let him ship it because it literally told him on the screen, which you can't see here, but it tells him on the screen that there's an error. I'm now removing this package from the shipping station. He scanned it again. Okay. And if it was the right product, a label will print out. And there you go. A label prints out. This process goes through every single day, all day long. We're sticklers for constant improvement. We don't take any error and take it lightly. So when we make an error, we want to see why we made an error. There, as you can see over here, there's a camera literally facing the shipping area. So every time we ship a package, we're taking a video shot of every single package we ship. There are multiple cameras located all over the facility. In every strategic point, we have cameras located. And you can see there's a camera there that faces as we pack an order. So every time we pick an order, we're watching with various different cameras as we pick an order. So again, we don't leave any process for error. If we picked product incorrectly, we want to know why we picked it incorrectly. If we packed it incorrectly, we want to know why we packed it incorrectly. If we shipped it incorrectly, we want to know why we shipped it incorrectly. We don't take anything to chance. That's why our error rate is under 0.1%. Again, the average error rate in the United States for a facility, for a warehousing facility, is 2%. Our error rate is less than 0.1%, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. Now, so I showed you the B2C area. That also is certain B2B models do pick out of the mechanisms I showed you. Okay. And then, of course, we have, the bulk storage is where we store bulk merchandise. As you can see, pallets upon pallets of merchandise. Every pallet in our location has a pallet identifier. So we know about every pallet and we know where it is along our warehouse every single time. So each one of these locations, they pick orders. They pick with an RF gun. They make sure to scan the product. So whether they're scanning it in the B2C area or whether they're scanning in the B2B area, every product's being scanned. We don't leave it for chance. We don't allow the system to have any errors that we can prevent.
Wonderful, Alan.
Awesome.
Okay.
Any
So,
questions that you might have,
Sure.
I'm more than welcome, more than happy to help.
yeah, so in one case, just everyone, so the customer complained that the product that they received, there was one less, and so all sorts of customers, and then from that you saw that section where where the labeling was happening in the end. So there is a video camera there. So we had the video recording of exactly how many items were put into that, and we were right. And customer was just faking it up. Just to share with you, this is how camera helps us in multiple ways. All right. Okay. So Alan, that's wonderful. I love it every time I see it. Been there million times, and it's amazing how it worked. Okay. So everyone. Now let's get into the questions, and I'm going to read out these questions, Alan, because there are certain things where Ajay mentioned that you're going to touch upon. So Mukesh is asking, do I need to have a US entity to actually use the warehousing facility of Pick and Pack?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that part, Naveen. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So Mukesh is asking, do I need to have a US entity to actually use the warehousing facility of Pick and Ship?
So as it relates to having a US entity, you don't have to have a US entity. That being said, it is easier, to have a US entity. So, when you're accepting your payments from customers, it's easier to have a US facility, but you don't have to have a US facility by any means. We're agnostic to how you decide to operate your business. You may decide to operate your business as an Indian entity, or you may decide to operate as a US entity. I will say that it is easier to be a US entity, but that being said, there's no requirements.
So in that case, who comes out on importer on record, on IOR?
So, you're still the importer of record from what I understand, but I'll leave that up to Naveen and his team to tell you exactly what to do on that.
Yes, yes, their own their Indian company can be IOR. Just wanted to bring it to you. Okay, so next question. Satyanarayan is asking reverse warehousing for stocking in US and sending materials to India. Can we do it?
Yes, of course. I mean, we do all kinds of fulfillment within the facility, right? We're handling inbound products that might be coming from domestic sources in the United States. We have products that are coming from international sources that are coming from overseas into the United States. So wherever your product is coming from, we can definitely take the product in, whether it's coming from India, whether it's coming from states within the United States, whether it's coming from Canada or China. We really don't care where the product is coming from. And then as far as fulfilling it to India, of course, we can definitely do that as well.
Lovely. Okay, so DM Nirmale is asking, please guide to e-commerce B2B business in USA.
All right, awesome. So B2C commerce in the United States can be done many different ways. You could be selling on your own website, or you could be selling on third-party websites. So what does it mean to sell on your own website? You might have a Shopify store, you might have a BigCommerce store, a Magento store. So you might be using one of these platforms. There's numerous WordPress, there's many platforms I haven't mentioned. We can tie into your platform, whatever platform you're using. We can also guide you along the way. So let's say you're planning on launching in the United States and you want a platform, you want me to give you some advice on that one. That's very easy for me to give you because I come from a technology background. When you saw our automated picking modules in the warehouse, when you saw her picking the order, I was actually part of the design team that designed the software part of that system. So if you're looking to sell in the United States, you might want to sell on Amazon, you might want to sell on Wayfair. It depends on your product and it depends what you're selling. But there are certain marketplaces in the United States that are stronger than others as it relates to certain categories. But you could also sell in very many marketplaces in the United States. We can facilitate you selling in many marketplaces. We could bring in all the orders together through one order management system. We could bring in all your orders and fulfill the orders, confirm those shipments back to the marketplaces. So really, as far as it relates to the fulfillment side, you do literally nothing. I hope that answers the question.
Lovely. Yes. Yes. So, and normally one other thing is of course you have to do marketing of your product somehow. I know, just adding it up here for everyone to hear it out. Fair.com, Etsy.com wants US companies, so becoming a US company makes a very good sense, and these are great platforms. But marketing, when I say the use of Instagram, many of our clients they do that, and TikTok. Now, TikTok is not accessible from India, but from US, we can get it done for you. I don't know after 20th of January or next few months what will happen to TikTok. Most likely it will be sold to a to a US investor. I'm pretty sure if that happens, TikTok will sell it because, but it is growing like hot potatoes. The hot cake, I mean. But you would love it. We can connect you from our team with someone who can assist you with that. But now let's get to the next question. How can we return unsold goods from e-commerce warehouse back to India?
Okay, so the way to deal with returns, it really depends on the return, right? What I didn't show you in the presentation is how we handle returns, but we do handle returns. So let's just say you sold 100 units of inventory that you sold online and you received 5 in returns. You would typically provide us a disposition for how you want us to handle your returns. Some of our clients say if the product comes back and it doesn't look presentable, we want you to discard it. Some will say, try to make it look perfect and put it back to stock. So we do have a rebagging, element within the returns facility. So we could do rebag, reticket, depending on the product need. And then, you may say, okay, if the product cannot be resold in its existing form, I want you to hold together all the products that are not resellable and then return it to us in India in one shipment, which we can definitely do.
Lovely, Alan. Okay. Someone is asking, hi, good evening, Mrs. Chetna here. Okay. My product is Bagasse paper product like bowl plate, glass and glass FDA approved. Which state suggested for my product?
All 50 states. There's no there's no state here that will not take your product. You're not selling any product. Your product's not regulated per se in the United States. So you would, when you would sell online, whether it be like I say, Shopify or Amazon Marketplace or Walmart Marketplace, and leave your products to sell in all 50 states. There's no nothing holding you back.
Wonderful. Nishant is asking, can we do some business somehow under Carnet?
Under
Carnet. CARNET, Carnet.
So Carnet is typically used when we have some sort of situation with let's say if you're bringing a jewelry over here, you're not selling the jewelry. You just want to use the jewelry in a showroom. So you are allowed to do the business on Carnet. It depends on situation to situation, depending on what type of business you are in. Carnet can be used for musician. They're bringing their own instruments to use in this country. Typically in Carnet, you don't really sell the merchandise that you bring along with you. You have the right to use that machinery, the commercial product, to gain business, to get business. So the short answer is yes, you can, but please, we will need more information to help you understand if in your case this is applicable or not.
All right, Ajay. Thank you so much. How can I start distributor business of medical consumables like surgical gloves and surgical blades which are made in India?
Oh, okay, great. So, one thing, there's a few elements to what you asked. We distribute a lot of different, I want to call it medically related products such as gloves and masks for hospitals and use. Actually, on the picking line while we were talking, we were actually picking disposable gowns that are used in various different medical procedures. So we're an FDA approved warehouse, which in the United States you have to have a certain level of cleanliness and standard operating procedures to be approved as a FDA approved warehouse. FDA is the U.S. what we call as the Food and Drug Administration. So medical instruments would fall under the FDA, and we can definitely fulfill orders for that product. And there's really not much from a warehousing perspective. There's not much that we would need to do for you other than just get you started. You might want to speak to Naveen separately about some of the permitting process that's involved. But from a warehouse fulfillment center perspective, we already took care of that on our side. So you're good to go.
Lovely. Shreya is asking, can we register a rented house of a relative as an office address?
You definitely can. People do it all the time. People
Yes,
do it
you
all the
can.
time.
Okay. Hardik is asking how to get address of USA to register the company. Hardik, for New Jersey, it will be us. Our address will become yours, but for other states, we'll get you that address. So you'll be taken care of. Chirag is asking, do they accept Indian-made medical product standards? Alan, this for
Do
you.
they accept? I mean, I would say that it's probably a question for someone else, but I would tell you that you still have to conform to the U.S. standards. So it may, pass a certain Indian standard, but depending on the type of product, it might need to go through a U.S. approval process. I don't know. Every product is different. Like gloves are not as regulated as, let's say, needles. Needles may be more regulated than gloves, but I'm sure there's a correlation between Indian registration and U.S. registration for the type of product.
Okay, Ajay, the next question is for Sid. For you, Sid is asking, which bank is lending friendly to a foreign company? Can we get funding from early days, or we need to be in USA for a minimum period?
Yes, absolutely. So the first question, which bank are more lending friendly? Typically, we see second tier bank, not the top tier, not the Bank of America, TD, Chase, PNC. They are not as lending friendly when it comes to the foreign companies. But I want to make sure people understand that by paying $1,000, few $100 to open the company in US, if people were allowed to get the loan from this country, everybody will open a company in US, take the loan, and not pick up the phone. This is not how it works.
Mhm.
You have to be, you have to show some credit worthiness, either through your Indian company. I have had this Indian company for 100 years. I have 100 crore rupees of Indian company. Meaning somehow you have to convince the lender. If you were the lender, how would you give the money? Would you give the money to yourself? There is no such minimum requirement. A lot of banks requires 2 years, but there is no such hard and fast rules. 2 years financials, and financials means profitable financials where you are showing certain profit to justify that if you were to give in the loan, if you were to give in the money, you have enough resources, enough profit to pay back the money to us. So if lending, if financing is what you want, then it's very important for you to run the business legitimately and show certain profits in your business to bring more credibility to your business. But again, please, there is no hard and fast rule, and don't assume that opening the company in US, you can easily take the money. Meaning this is not how it works.
Okay. Nishant is asking Ajay again, how does representative office in business?
How does?
Well, the question is not complete, but I guess Nishant is asking that representative office in business, how to open?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Representative office in US. I'm not sure if they are asking about creating a sales office in US, a branch office in US, or subsidiary in US. But if you can give more information, I'll be happy to answer the question.
Okay, Nishant, you got it. You can write in the chat box. Okay, next question is, how will FIO help the Indian company to set up their business? So that
So
is
I'll
for,
take that question.
please.
Yeah. Good morning, Alan. I
Morning.
think when I spoke and I was at the beginning of the session, you were not able to join in then. Thank you so much for your inputs during the session, and definitely the walk around the warehouse was indeed interesting for all our
course.
members. On that question, whether FIO can help an Indian company to set up their business, those who are members of FIO, you would know what our core activity is. We are into trade facilitation. We will not directly be able to help you set up the business, but we can definitely facilitate in connecting you with the right people and also help you with information. That's exactly what we are trying to do over this session. So basically, FIO can facilitate by connecting you to the right people in setting up the business.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I know what time it is in India? I
It is
guess it
around
is
8:40 p.m., sir, here.
okay. There are 50 more questions. We can take about, we can try for next 5 minutes, 7 minutes, how much we can cover, because it is not going to end for sure. We want to help you out as much as possible. Please look at Manvi. Can you just share the link once again for the participants to fill in so that we can get to them later after the, offline, and then address these queries, their question if they have any. But let's see how much we can cover in 7 more minutes. Reverse warehousing question is addressed. Nikhilesh Patel is asking, taxes are paid monthly or annually once company are formed? Second question, what does 83B filing within 30 days compulsory? Ajay ji?
One more time, please.
Taxes are paid monthly or annually once company is formed? And second question is, what does 83B filing within 30 days compulsory?
So the two separate questions. So the first question relates to how frequently the taxes needs to be paid. It depends on the type of tax we are talking about. If you are talking about the sales tax, VAT equivalent is typically paid monthly. If we are talking about payroll, it's typically paid twice a month. If you are talking about income tax, is typically paid quarterly or yearly, depending on how much income tax you owe. So the short answer is depending on what you're getting into, what type of tax liability you have, the frequency can change. Frequency depends on the type of tax liability. Income tax, you want to assume for a new company yearly. If the company is doing well, then quarterly. The second question is about 83B election. 83B election allows you to pay the taxes upfront for a company where you expect large growth. And think about it, if the system doesn't allow or does not enforce 83B election in 30 days, if the system says you can do 83B election whenever you want, then everybody will wait for 83B election. If the company is successful, only then you will do 83B election, meaning it will defeat the whole purpose of having the 83B election. It wouldn't be fair. So 83B election must be done within 30 days of acquiring the contingent shares, contingent ownership. That's the rule. Otherwise, the deal is off, and you choose to pay taxes upfront as opposed to later on in 83B election.
Okay, so next question. Thank you, Ajay. Next question. What will be the process if US company buys an Indian company with 51%?
So the process is going to be very simple. It happens all the time, these mergers and acquisitions. I'm assuming the US company is already in existence, Indian company is already in existence. If they are not, then you form the US company first, and then you take the US company, take over 51% from the owners. Take a quick example. If the Indian company is owned by two people, A and B, 50% each. Now you form the US company first, then US company buys 26.5% from each of them. So pay them some money, create a paper trail. Is typically done when you're looking for funding, especially from UAE, especially from Dubai, Gulf area. A lot of funding is coming in US from Dubai area, and they do not want to fund an Indian company. They only fund US companies. So we see the situation every day when an Indian company is trying to form a US company, and the US company will acquire the Indian company or its asset. So the US company now owns these assets, and the US company can get the funding from Dubai or other investors. It's very commonly done.
Lovely. Okay, Nishant is asking, is this true that there is no importer registration required to import in US?
I'm not sure. It's beyond my pay grade. We will check with somebody who knows more about import-export licenses. I would say it depends on the item that you're trying to import. The licensing related to import depends on what you're trying to import. But again, we can hook you up with an import-export expert, and they can help you understand the import-export laws better.
Yes, as long as if you are importing guns, bullets, and of course you will be required, you will be required. But there, yeah, so there, well, there are tax codes for various products, and then we have to go through. But in general, if you are importing, let's say, food items or textiles or handicraft or handloom or you name it, or home decor, home furnishings, no, there is none required. Jayesh is asking if we have a warehouse occupation and we don't have any company registered in USA, so do we need to pay a tax in US government? If yes, then it's for state or federal, as we will do the shipment order fulfillment all over USA.
So I'll try the answer first. If I understood the question is if we do not have any US business registered, and if we are making profits from the US, then do we need to pay any income tax in US? So a lot of time, so when you say making profit from US in this example, if you parse it out, go into details, what you're saying is US companies are paying my Indian companies. So the rule is, remember we were looking at the TDS earlier in my presentation, when these US companies pay money to the Indian companies, they are expected to withhold certain taxes, as much as 30% taxes, TDS, tax deducted at source, before they make the payment to, let's say, if you're doing business in US, an Indian company is doing business in US. TDS does not apply when you have a domestic transaction. TDS only applies when you have international transaction. So an Indian company is doing business in US. They don't have any US presence. This US customer has to pay money to Indian company. This US customer will be required to withhold certain taxes, 30% taxes, before making the payment. So, do you have income tax? No. Do you have payroll tax? No. But do you have any tax? Yes. And the tax will be with a different name. We will call it TDS this time.
Okay, got it. One last question. Let's take the last question. How do we call Karaila Lifestyle is asking, how do we find distributor buyers lead? Many want to deal with retail buyers directly. Also, we don't to depend on Amazon solely.
Uh, Alan can answer this question better than me. Alan, please.
Sure. So, you know, there was multiple facets to this question, right? No company should want to rely on one company alone. Amazon, as we know, in the e-commerce side of the world in the United States, is the behemoth of the e-commerce world in the United States. That being said, they're not the only company. They're the biggest, but that doesn't mean that they're the only company. Also, so there are many other e-commerce websites that you could sell on. That being said, the second part to the question was if you want to sell directly to retailers, depending on your product, okay, you may want to have a presence in a showroom in Manhattan, like Naveen mentioned earlier in the phone call. Depends. But even the retailer wants to see your product online. It gives them a sense of the product and it gives them a certain level of comfort with your product. I'll give you an example. We have a fairly large apparel customer that was looking to sell his products in Macy's, which is a very large retailer in the United States. And Macy's said, well, show us that your products can sell well on our website. And so he ended up selling on Macy's website. He did such a large business in Macy's e-commerce that Macy's said, oh, we like your product so much. The reviews are great. We're putting it across our 500 or 600 stores that Macy's may have. So that's another way that that your products can make it to the retail. So sometimes when it's proven online, that will help sell it offline, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Alan. And I'll take a small stab at it, and then we are at the closing. You see, look at that. FIO brought in suppliers from India for buyer-seller meet here in the US. You are looking for it. Creating relationships is the first thing, of course. As Alan said, going online from your own website gives them a sense of safety that this company is putting up efforts into doing whatever that you're trying to sell, and that is the kind of strategy you can take. If I'm able to get, I promise you that if I know, even if I have the buyers, there are certain rules or code of conduct that we have to maintain with the buyer. I just give you the buyer we have for another client, but I tell you, you have to as I say normally, you cannot learn to drive in a parked car. You cannot learn to swim sitting on a shore. You have to jump into the waters. Means you got to be here. You got to meet. If I know all those leads, trust me, my friend, I am in business. I will start selling those products from today, not even tomorrow. So leads are to be generated. Your strategy has to be fine. Company becoming a US company is a great way to set up your long-term goals for the US, and having products in a local gives the local buyers a great sense of the safety net that you are serious, that things are changing. So we can talk offline. Manvi, Shika, once again, please share the link that anybody can fill for any questions you might have. I want to thank Richard, sir. Thank you so much. Ms. Devdatta, thank you so much. Mr. Yogesh, thank you so much for having us. And once again, US is a very large country. Lot of opportunities, changes happening after COVID, and things got to be done right the best way. It will always, I've never seen, there are cases when companies don't do business right. For example, you might have heard, I think just 2 days back, 3 days back, a dollar store has gone bankrupt, and they had sent their suppliers to China, and they did not know that they were in China. I mean, the team was in China and they went bankrupt. So Chapter 13 filed, so things going out of business. But well, with thousands of stores, and they could not sustain for various reasons. But you starting simple, starting small, with every footing, you do the right way, the right things. America provides or gives you ample opportunities to make money. Once again, we are in New Jersey. If by any chance any one of you is in New Jersey, you are welcome to come to our office, bring your products. We'll make connections, help you out to reach to the prospects. Innovative, as much innovative you become, greater the market is right now. But anyways, with that said, Ajayji, thank you so much. Alan, thank you so much. Both of you,
course.
if there's anything you want to add to it, please add to it, and then we'll close. Ajayji?
Absolutely, Naveen. Thank you. You rightly said you cannot learn swimming without getting into the water. So the way I see it, I deal with a couple of thousand businesses every year. The repent you will have, paschatap you will have, is not that you tried it. You will think about that. I wish if I had tried it. If it doesn't work, you can always close it. You can always move on. But you owe it to yourself. If you have a successful business in India, you need to give it a shot. You need to try it to make it successful internationally. So give it a shot, give it a try. I'm sure it will work out. You have made it work in India. You can make it work in US.
Thank you, sir. So we have come to the conclusion of today's webinar. I wish to express my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Naveen, Mr. Ajay, and to Mr. Allen for giving their time for today's webinar, and also to the participants for their encouraging response and participation. Thank you. For any further queries, participants are requested to kindly send us their questions over mail at fio.org. The mail ID has already been shared in the chat box. So with this, we conclude today's webinar. On behalf of FIO Eastern Region, I wish to thank all of you and wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. We look forward to assist and support you. And good night. And once again, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
Have a wonderful rest
Nice
of the day.
meeting you all.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank
Thank you, Richard.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajayji.
You
Thank
got
Alan.
it.
Thank you.